The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another House of the Dragon video. In this video, we will be looking at the second episode from House of the Dragon's first season. I'm sorry everyone, but before we get started, there is something I must do. There we go, that's much better. Well, my friends, here we are once again, and I must say, I really enjoyed the new episode. Now, before we go any further, I want to discuss the sponsor of this video, AtlasVPN. As I'm sure most of you already know, all of us are at risk of having our identity stolen on a daily basis as more and more of our information and data goes onto the internet. What some of you might not know is that one of the best ways from stopping this from happening is by the use of a VPN service. This is something that I've actually been using every day for the last 6 months. Well, this month I've joined forces with AtlasVPN to bring you the most affordable deal on online protection for as little as $1.83 each month. Not to mention, they also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, other than guarding your online identity, AtlasVPN also blocks malware and malicious links. Another thing it does is keep your Google searches private, and even gives you access to online shopping deals and will notify you whenever someone is trying to steal your identity. One of my favorite things about AtlasVPN is it also gives you access to other regions' content on the different streaming services like Netflix. For example, if something is only available in the UK, all you have to do is switch your IP address to gain access to it in the US. Right now, AtlasVPN is running a massive discount to where you can actually get a 3-year subscription for only $1.83 a month. And like I said, that has a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. You can jump on that deal right now before the time runs out by going to the link in my description. I would recommend grabbing that deal now. Once again, I would like to thank AtlasVPN for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back into the new episode. Now, there was an immediate difference with this episode than the first one. Right out of the gate, we finally got our intro scene before the actual episode began. Although this one is somewhat different, it does sort of look, feel, and sound the same as the original from Game of Thrones. As you all know, the Game of Thrones theme is so legendary, I don't mind hearing it again in House of the Dragon. Now, like the first episode, this one started out a bit slow as well. As much as I would like to get right into the action, I do understand we still need some time to set everything up and establish who everyone is and what direction they will be heading in for the foreseeable future. Now, the second episode actually takes place about 6 months after the first episode ended. Again, I was worried this might not work that well, but I must say, it did not bother me at all. There's a lot of events this first season must establish before the Dance of the Dragons begins. One thing I really liked about the episode is how it fleshed out some of the other characters like Lord Corlys Velaryon, Mysaria, and a few others. We're finally seeing just who they are and where they stand on certain issues. In this episode, we see how Viserys Targaryen is dealing with the aftermath of losing his wife and son. Now that 6 months have gone by, many of his advisors are expecting him to get married again, something Viserys hadn't really considered, at least not yet. Now, I gotta be honest, Viserys and Alicent actually seem great together, although their age difference is bothersome. When you look at who they are and how they act, they really do seem like they're made for one another, and maybe under different circumstances, their relationship might really blossom. But, as we all know, this is Game of Thrones, and a wedding without at least 3 deaths is considered a dull affair. I think it's funny how Viserys is always messing around with his Legos whenever Alicent visits him. As we saw in this episode, Viserys' marriage announcement did not go over well with everyone. Now, Ser Otto, he actually looked like he had a hard-on when Viserys made the announcement, but Rhaenyra and Lord Corlys Velaryon were understandably very upset. Once again, Lord Corlys Velaryon gets slapped right in the face. House Velaryon getting shoved aside is becoming its own theme. Now, I will say I was glad this did happen though, because I did not want to see Viserys walking hand in hand with Laena Velaryon again. The thought of him getting married to this little girl is disturbing, although Alicent isn't a much better option either. At least Alicent's actress looks of age, whereas Laena obviously looks like a very small child. I can't even begin to imagine what must be going through Rhaenyra's mind. The matter of succession is one thing, but your dad getting married to your best friend is something entirely different. She has to feel betrayed, not only by her friend, but her father as well. This wasn't the only time Viserys made her feel like shit either. One thing I really loved about Rhaenyra in this episode was how she volunteered to go fight in the Stepstones on Dragonback. Viserys was obviously not a fan of the idea. He must not have seen Game of Thrones Season 8 because if he did, he would have seen just how surgical Daenerys was on her dragon. I think Rhaenyra would have been just fine as long as she had Syrax underneath of her. Another one of my favorite moments from this episode was the scene on Dragonstone. Now this was incredible. The beginning of this scene felt like something right out of a scary movie. Dragonstone had this dark and ominous feeling about it, which made the scene even better. It set the stage for the amazing confrontation with Daemon and Ser Otto, once again, showing the hatred these men have for one another. And I do think Rhaenyra was right. If she hadn't shown up and made Daemon stop, Ser Otto's blood most likely would have been shed right there. As we all know, Daemon already doesn't like him, but then he had the nerve to insult him, his fiancée, and their child right in front of everyone. Ser Otto went over the line, and he knew it. All this scene does is make me want to see more moments like this involving Daemon and Ser Otto Hightower. They're so much fun to watch. This also made the final scene even better. After getting dissed by the king one too many times, Daemon Targaryen and Lord Corlys Velaryon joined forces to finally stop the crab feeder in the Stepstones. Now we know it won't be long before we start to see fire rain down on their enemies in the south of the Narrow Sea. We will most likely see them head for the Stepstones in the very next episode, where they will face off against the crab feeder and his men. And it won't only be Daemon, his dragon Caraxes, and the Velaryon fleet. We will also see them enlist the help of different adventurers, as well as the sellswords, the Second Sons. They will finally be able to get out some of their frustrations brought on by the decisions of their king. This will be the start of a great relationship that will ultimately end with several marriage alliances. Not only Daemon's, but Rhaenyra's as well. This relationship will further influence House Velaryon to stand at Rhaenyra and Daemon's side once the Dance of the Dragons begins. Now, since I'm mentioning the dragons, I also want to say something about Vhagar. Like we saw in the episode, we hear that he's missing in action. The largest and oldest living dragon in Westeros is nowhere to be found. My guess is she will show up right when they need her. I hope we start to see more dragons in these next few episodes. We still need to see Meleys, Sunfire, Vhagar, and so many more. Like I said earlier, I thought this was a great episode once things started moving along. Now that Viserys and Alicent are getting married, this basically sets up the stage for the remainder of this series. The main conflict has now been set in motion, and it won't be long before Viserys and Alicent start having sons, which will ultimately challenge Rhaenyra's succession. Something that Rhaenys did warn her of in this episode. Like Rhaenys said, those men who once swore fealty to her will no longer stand at her side once a male heir is born. Rhaenyra is already getting the sense that she might be set aside for another, but what makes it even worse is the fact that her best friend will be the one who makes sure that it happens. Alicent's son Aegon and Rhaenyra's fight over the Iron Throne will last for seasons, leading to the death of not only many Targaryens, but most of their dragons as well. It will be interesting to see how all of this unfolds now that we're already seeing the line get drawn in the sand. I thought the episode did a great job at showing how these sides will start to get formed. Daemon and Lord Corlys are forming a bond of their own, while Rhaenyra and Alicent's begins to crack at its foundation. Although Ser Otto acts like he's looking out for Viserys' best interest, he's really only looking out for his own, as he ensures his family holds on to their seat at the big table. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of these relationships either evolve or dissolve into nothing. Like I've said before, the downfall of House Targaryen has begun. As always, I want to thank everyone for stopping by and watching my initial reaction to the new episode. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know whenever I release a new video. I will have several new videos every week during the whole season. Let me know what you thought about this new episode down below. I hope all of you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.